Welcome to Pastor Jerome TV. I'm your host, Pastor Jerome Davidson. And here we go. We've been talking about this Pizzagate and Pedogate and child trafficking. And we wonder why the church is so sick. Because there's a lot of stuff going on, people of God, that we have to wake up to. Turn on your discernment. Don't just let people come in and set up a church and establish a church. And you see tendencies in them. You see the way they behave. You hear the way they present the gospel that's not fully a full representation of Christ, but it's churchy. We've got to break away from these people because they're leading us to hell. Now, we was talking about those missing girls in Washington, D.C. But here we have a church in Detroit, and I think I recognize this brother who he's a member of Pastor Marvin Winans' fellowship. And I'm not saying Pastor Winans is involved in this, but I'm just saying that these people are connected to people that we all admire and appreciate, and a lot of stuff is going on in the house of God that we need to ask our pastors to address. If you're in a church and your pastor never ever preach anything that's going on with these major news events, well then I'm concerned with that kind of stuff. I'm concerned if you go into a Caucasian church, and I'm not preaching about racial division or anything, but if you go into a Caucasian church and your pastor never preach about the shootings of innocent black men, well then why are you there? If your pastors are never preaching about the stuff that's going on in major news, and they want to preach something that happened 3,000 and 4,000 years ago and never make it relevant to what's going on today, well then that is a concern, because you are ignoring the very obvious that's going on in our towns and in our cities and among our young people. Our young people are being shot at, sexed at, raped, tortured, sacrificed, and all of this stuff, and you get up and you're trying to tell the world how beautiful and wonderful things are. No, you need to preach and tell people that it's hell out here. That people are interested in your children's sex, that they want your money, and they'll do anything and everything to get it. Wake up, people of God. People telling me that I shouldn't be calling names. Y'all need to get out of all this sophistry. If a dog is a dog, call it a dog. If a pig is a pig, call it a pig. If a punk is a punk, call him a punk. Jesus called a woman and her daughter some dogs. He called Pharisees sons of the devil. And we need to call stuff as it is. All the prophets call people names. God called people names. And if the name fits, well then they're going to wear it, because they're wearing it anyway. But here we have a child pornography and sex ring set up by pastors in Detroit.
Dressed in sweats and shackled in handcuffs, Cordell Jenkins and Anthony Haynes were escorted by detectives into the U.S. District Court in downtown Toledo. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but we were there as a judge read off charges to the two men. Court documents made available after their appearance show Jenkins and Haynes both facing charges of sex trafficking of a minor, an offense that could come with 10 years in prison, as well as $250,000 in fines.
That's all?
Jenkins and Haynes' appearance in court comes hours after the two were arrested by FBI agents earlier in the day.
Apparently, the activity that we have charged these individuals with have been going on for quite some time.
Wow. Court documents show the 14-year-old victim told police of at least 3 years of abuse at the hands of Haynes.
Oh, my God.
We had good information that we went on. Obviously, we've done our homework. Some investigation has been occurring over the last few weeks, and it's brought us to this point today.
Documents go on to show that Haynes approached the minor for repeated sexual favors in exchange for cash.
Wow.
Some of the encounters allegedly happened at various motels around Toledo. In December 2016,
this is Ohio, not Detroit.
Got involved, and the same victim began having sexual relations with Jenkins at his home and church office.
Man.
Investigators say Haynes and Jenkins even recorded some of the incidents on their cell phones. Fast forward to the end of last month, where police say a second minor was victimized. On March 31st, police say the initial victim alerted Haynes to delete his Facebook as authorities were getting involved. Now, in addition to those trafficking charges, Jenkins also faces a charge of sexual exploitation of a minor, while
these
Haynes
suckers under the
faces a
jail.
charge of obstruction. Both of those men are due back here in that federal court this coming Thursday. Lee?
Now, let me tell you something. The feds are not, and the main media is not going to do too much about this. It's not going to be on major news networks, because this is going to lead to greater probing of what's going on even in Washington. See, and then, make some of these arrests of some of these Caucasian pastors that's doing the same thing. Man, Lord, help us all.